Good morning, student. I will start now. In the last class, we have discussed discrete Fourier transform. So, what is the use of Fourier transform? It transforms any signal from time domain to the spatial domain. Okay, and actually, we are interested in the discrete version of Fourier transform because our image is a discrete signal. Okay, so we have seen actually 4 versions of Fourier transform. First one we have seen 1D continuous Fourier transform, then 2D continuous Fourier transform, then we have seen 1D discrete Fourier transform, and lastly we have discussed 2D discrete Fourier transform. Okay, so let me show you the equation. Okay, so this is the equation for 2D ft of f of xy. So this f of xy will be our image. Okay, so this is the equation of Fourier transform. Okay, so this is the discrete 2D discrete Fourier transform. So here this f of xy represents our image. Okay, and the image size is m by n. So the Fourier transform of this f of xy is represented by f of uv, capital F of uv, and the equation is like this. Here in the equation you can find u and v variable. These are known as a frequency variable, and they also vary from 0 to m minus 1. Okay, so u corresponds to x and v corresponds to y. So it will vary from 0 to n minus 1. Okay, and as we have discussed, Fourier transforms are reversible. Okay, so if you take a inverse ft of that using this equation, you will get the exact same image back. Okay, so what we do usually, first we will take a Fourier transform of the image. Okay, so our image gets transformed into the frequency domain. Okay, so we will get low frequency component and high frequency component separately. We work on that transformed image and we take a inverse of ft of that transform image. Okay, and we will get a process image back. Okay, so that is the working. So here, so the only change is here we have minus sign, here we have plus sign, and there is no 1 by mn here. Okay, and if you have a square image, usually we write here 1 by n. Okay, and here in inverse Fourier transform we write 1 by n. That is perfectly fine. Okay, and we have seen this formulas also. Okay, so from the Fourier transform equation we can calculate this parameter. First parameter is known as a spectrum, or also known as a magnitude spectrum. Okay, so here this r uv represents a real part of the f of uv. Actually this f of uv is a complex number. Okay, as you can see here, we have seen a polar form also. Okay, so it is a complex number. So this r uv represents the real part of f of uv. I is the imaginary part of f of uv. Okay, so the spectrum formula is square root of sum of square of real part of the f of uv plus square of imaginary part of f of uv. This is the phase angle. Okay, and this is a power spectrum. It is just a square of the spectrum. This point we have discussed in the previous lecture. Okay, so now let us start with the properties of 2D DFT, the last topic from the first unit. Okay, so today we will discuss properties of 2D DFT. Okay, so 2D DFT satisfy many properties. Okay, so it totally satisfies these 9 properties. Okay, so there are different kinds of signals, and different signals exhibit different properties. Okay, so this 2D DFT satisfies this 9 property. Okay, so let us discuss this property one by one. Before that, we will just clear what is this properties. First one is separable sequence. Okay, what is separable sequence? So if we have this sequence x of mn, okay, if we can represent that as a product of the function of m alone and the function of n alone, such sequences are known as a separable sequence. Okay, that means you can separate this sequence along the individual components. Okay, so such sequence are known as a separable sequence. Next type of sequence is periodic sequence. Okay, consider this 2D signal. Okay, so whose period is m by n. Okay, so if this is equals to this equation, that is m plus capital M, or if it is equals to this equation, or if it is equals to x small m plus capital M comma small n plus capital N, such sequence are known as a periodic sequence. Okay, so they are periodic with this period m by n. Okay, such sequence are known as a periodic. That means they repeat themselves after this much period. Okay, so now let us begin with the properties. First property is known as a separability property. Okay, so what is the meaning of this property? So if now we are interested in taking the 2D DFT of f of xy, right? Actually that 2D DFT can be obtained by first taking the 1D DFT of every row of the image. Okay, so what we do, we keep the value of x constant and we will vary the y only. Okay, so y will vary from 1 to capital N minus 1. Okay, so actually we are taking the 1D DFT of every row. Okay, and we will get this intermediate result. Okay, which is represented here. Okay, so this is black and white image. Okay, so here we are taking the 1D DFT of every row. So we will get this intermediate result, and then we will take the 1D DFT of every column. Okay, and we will get exactly f of uv. Now what is the advantage of doing this? So actually the complexity of 2D DFT is, let me write, the complexity of 2D DFT, original 2D DFT is order of n raised to power 4, where n represents the size of the image. Consider a square image of size n by n. Okay, so complexity of 2D DFT is this much. Okay, and the complexity of 1D DFT is actually order of n raised to power 2, a square of n. Okay, now by this property what we are doing, we are taking 1D DFT of every row followed by 1D DFT of every column. So total complexity will be what? Order of n square plus order of n square, that is order of 2n square. So that means order of n square only, right? So by using this property we are able to reduce the complexity. Okay, so the calculation becomes more simpler. Okay, so actually our 2D DFT satisfies this property. Okay, so we make use of this property in order to make the calculation much simpler. Okay, so this is separability property. Next one is spatial shifting, also known as a translation property. Okay, so what we are doing here, so if we translate the image by this vector, so here we are just translating along the x-axis, okay, by x0. Okay, the magnitude of the spectrum remains the constant, only phase changes by this quantity. Okay, the magnitude remains same. Okay, as we can represent by polar in polar coordinates also, the magnitude remains the same, only phase change will be there by phase change of this factor. Okay, now in this equation we are translating the image by this vector x0 and y0. By translation means what? If the image is like this, okay, and if we translate, and this is the axis, okay, so this is x-axis and this is y-axis. Okay, if we translate means spatially it will be translated in that coordinate system. Okay, so if we translate the image, okay, by this vector, the magnitude of the spectrum remains the constant, only phase change will be there. Okay, this is spatial shifting property. DFT of shifted function is unaltered except that there will be a linearly varying phase factor. Okay, and converse is also true. Okay, so if we shift the spectrum, okay, if we shift the Fourier transform, our image will also get shifted by this much factor. Okay, so this is regarding spatial shifting. Now if we multiply our image by this factor, what happens? Our Fourier transform get translated by this much factor. Okay, so if consider, let me draw the image of our f of xy. So the origin of any image is considered on the left top of the image. Okay, so here we have 0 0 coordinate. Okay, so this is our x axis, this is our y axis, this is our image. Okay, and if we take a Fourier transform of this image, you will get a transform image, okay, whose coordinates will be u and v. Okay, and the center of the spectrum lies here. Okay, now we want to translate that center to here, center of the image. For that we have to multiply the original image by this, and then we have to take a Fourier. Okay, so this u, so u is varying from 0 to m minus 1, and here we will have n. Okay, by multiplying, the center will come here, and this will be actually f of 0 0. Okay, so we are using a spatial shifting property to shift the center of the spectrum to the center of the image. Okay, I will explain what is the need of this, why we shift the center. Okay, so now this is the Fourier transform, this is the original image. Okay, and this is the Fourier transform of that image. Okay, actually the center is shifted for this image. Okay, so what we have here, so here we have 20 by 40 white rectangle. Okay, the total image size is 512 by 512. Okay, and this image is enhanced by applying a log transformation. Okay, so there will be very less brightness in the original Fourier transform image. Okay, so we enhance the image using a log transformation. Let me show you the, yes. Okay, so this is the original image, and this is the FFT of the original image, and we have not done any shifting. Okay, so center of the spectrum lies here. Okay, and if we shift, that means if you multiply original image by this factor, you will get this shifted version of f of t. Okay, so now you can see the spectrum clearly. Okay, so now we have a center of the spectrum at the center of the image. Okay, and what happens after shifting? This center comes here. Okay, so A comes here, D will go there. Okay, B will come here, and C will go there. Okay, so this happens after shifting. Okay, so every image shown in this slides are shifted. That means we have to multiply original image by this factor. Okay, so always remember, without shifting, the center of the spectrum lies at this point, the top left of the image. Okay, now if you put 0 0 in the original equation of Fourier transform, okay, you will get this equation. And if you see this equation, what is this? This f of xy is our original image, m by n is the size of our image, and actually this is the average of our image. Okay, so center represents the average of the image. Center of the Fourier spectrum represents the average of the image, and it is known as a DC component of the image. Okay, so what we are doing in the original equation of the Fourier transform, this one, we are putting u and v as 0. Okay, so this becomes 1. Okay, so we are getting this equation, which is actually an average of intensity values of all intensity values of all the pixels. Okay, which is actually average of the image, which is known as a DC component. Now next property is the rotation property. Okay, so this is our original image, and this is the corresponding DFT, and if we rotate the original image by angle theta 0, FT also rotates by the same angle. Okay, so this image is rotated by 45 degree, its corresponding DFT also gets rotated by theta 0. Okay, so generally we represent this rotation property in the polar form. Okay, so in polar coordinates we replace x by r cos theta, y by r sin theta, and u by omega cos phi, and v by omega sin phi. Okay, so what is the statement of rotation property? So if the theta gets rotated by theta 0, the corresponding Fourier transform also gets rotated by theta 0. Okay, so original equation in the polar coordinate will be like this. Okay, and if we rotate by theta 0, which is represented by f of r theta plus theta 0. Okay, similarly Fourier transform also gets rotated by same angle. Okay, that is a rotation property. Okay, so example is given here. The original image rotated by 45 degree. This is the original spectrum, and this is the Fourier spectrum, and this is the actual code. So here actual MATLAB code. So we have created the image. Okay, zeros 256 by 256. We have got the size of that image in m by n. Okay, now by using this loop, what we are doing, in the middle we are putting white pixels. Okay, so total image will be black initially. At the center we are putting a white pixels. 255 represents white pixels, right? Then so A is our original image. Okay, then we have rotated that image using IM rotate function. Okay, then this FFT is used to apply the Fourier transform. Okay, so by using FFT2 we will get the Fourier transform image. Then FFT shift to shift that spectrum to the middle. Okay, and then we are performing a log transformation. So A1 represents the FFT of original image, B1 represents the FFT of rotated image, and if we plot we will get this result. Okay, so this is the result obtained by this code. Okay, next property is the linearity property, also known as a distributive property. Okay, so DFT of a sum is equal to the sum of individual DFT. Okay, but remember, this Fourier transform is not distributive over multiplication. Okay, so it is distributive over the addition symbol. Okay, but if we have f into g, okay, and if we take a Fourier transform of this signal, then it is not equals to f of first function into f of second function. Okay, so it is not distributive over multiplication. Okay, so this is linearity property. So one example is given here. This is image A, its corresponding DFT, image B and its corresponding DFT. Now we are adding that image. Okay, and this is the resultant DFT, and if we add these two DFT, we will get exactly the same DFT. Okay, in the lab you can cross check this. Okay, next property is the scaling property. Okay, so if we multiply original signal by scalar A, okay, that is equals to the Fourier transform of the original function multiplied by the same scalar. Okay, and if we scale the individual component, okay, that is equivalent to this equation. Okay, we don't have directly AU and BV here. Okay, so here the equation is like this. Okay, so this is the scaling property. So this is one example. Okay, so this is the original image. Okay, now this is the scaled version of that image. Okay, so now we have just increased the size of that image, and the vacant places are filled by the zeros. So empty places in the new values, so empty places are filled with the zeros. Okay, and this is the corresponding DFT. As you can see, DFT remains constant, only it is a scaled up version of this original DFT. Okay, so that is regarding scaling. Okay, so for every property you have to just remember its corresponding equations. Now you can we can have a combination of scaling property and linearity. Okay, so here we have scaled A image with this factor and B with this factor, and then we have combined that, okay, and we have obtained this DFT. Okay, individually we can scale this image, and then we can combine that and we can cross check whether that summation equals to this image. Then next one is the periodicity property. So we have seen periodic sequence, which means that sequence repeats itself after the particular period, right? So if this is our Fourier transform, okay, and if its period is m in the direction of u and n in the direction of v, okay, then f of uv will be equals to f of u plus m comma v equals to f of u plus v plus n, and which is equals to f of u plus m comma v plus n. Okay, so its period is m and n. Similarly, if the original image, okay, so here also the period is m, okay, so this is the periodicity property, okay, and they both follow the periodicity property. Next property is the conjugate symmetry property, okay. So this star represents a conjugate, and we know that conjugate of any complex number is obtained by reversing the sign of the imaginary part, okay. So this f of uv is equals to its conjugate, and where we have minus u and minus v, okay, and if we have, suppose we have f of uv and minus f star minus u and minus v, this property is known as anti-symmetry property, okay, but actually our 2D DFT satisfy symmetry property and not the anti-symmetry property, okay. So if we have minus sign here, that is known as anti-symmetry, okay. So our 2D DFT exhibits symmetry property, okay, and their magnitude remains the same, okay. This modulus symbol represents its magnitude. Next one is convolution property, okay. So in the spatial domain we have seen convolution operation, where we convolve a mask over the image, okay, and we do the sum of product, okay. So in the frequency domain, what is the meaning of convolution? So convolution is represented by this symbol, okay. So and this is the equation of the convolution, okay, and actually the convolution in a spatial domain is equivalent to the multiplication in frequency domain, okay. And what about correlation? Okay, so now how to verify that? What we can do, so these are the steps to verify whether this convolution in spatial domain equals to multiplication in frequency domain. What we can do in MATLAB, so let us consider f of xy is our original image, and hxy is our mask, okay. Now the size of hxy will be very small, so for that we pad with zeros, okay, and that corresponding image will be known as h pad, okay, and so that it is same size as f of xy, okay. So now f of xy and h of xy has same size. Now perform the DFT of both f of xy and h pad xy to obtain f of uv and h pad uv, okay. Now compute the element by element product of this, okay. So we'll just do the matrix multiplication, but not matrix multiplication, just element by element product, and then we take the inverse DFT of the result, okay, and verify that the convolution, okay, convolution that we can achieve by IM filter function of MATLAB, whether it is equivalent to this one, okay. So we'll try, okay, I will demonstrate in one of the lab, okay. So just remember this statement: convolution in spatial domain is equivalent to the multiplication in frequency domain, okay. Now what about convolution? Okay, so this is the symbol for correlation, okay. So this is the symbol of correlation. Actually here we have conjugate of that, conjugate of f of uv, that's the difference, okay. It is not simply a multiplication of f of uv and h of uv, it is a multiplication of conjugate of f of uv and h of uv, Okay, so now to summarize everything, so we started with the equation of Fourier transform, discrete Fourier transform, so which is given here. Okay, and inverse DFT is given by this equation. Either you can specify by 1 by mn here or here. Okay, then the spectrum is calculated with this equation. Okay, and phase angle is calculated by this formula. Okay, tan inverse of imaginary part of f of uv divided by real part of f of uv. Then polar representation is this one. This we have discussed in the previous class. Then power spectrum, it will be a square of spectrum. Okay, average value. Okay, so if you put u and v as 0, okay, so which is given here. Okay, we have seen the periodicity property. Okay, so actually here we have k into m. K1 is an integer. Okay, so it repeats after m intervals, right? So we have general equation will be k1 into m and k2 into n. Okay, so that signal repeats after this much period, and our f of xy is also periodic. Then convolution property is given by this one, and correlation, simply we have plus symbol here. And we have seen what is separability. Okay, so 2D DFT can be computed by computing 1D DFT along the rows or columns of the image, followed by 1D transform along the columns or rows. Okay, and vice versa. We can do first 1D DFT along the rows and then later along the columns, or we can do 1D DFT along the columns followed by 1D DFT along the rows. Okay, and we managed to reduce the complexity from n raised to power 4 to n raised to power 2. Okay, so these are the summary of property. So we have seen a symmetry property. Okay, so where we have seen f of uv equals to a complex conjugate of that and minus u minus v. We have seen the linearity property. Okay, so it is distributive over the addition but not distributive over the multiplication. Then we have seen a translation. If you translate the original by vector x0 y0, okay, so magnitude remains the same, only phase change will be there by this much factor. Okay, and translation to the center of the frequency rectangle. So for that we multiply the original image by this factor. Then we have seen a rotation property. If you rotate the original image by theta 0, the resultant f of uv also get rotated by this same angle. Then convolution. Okay, so we have seen the convolution in spatial domain is equivalent to the multiplication in frequency domain, and we have seen the correlation. Okay, so this is regarding properties of DFT. Any doubt? These properties that we are going to use to process our image. In the next chapter we are going to discuss filtering in frequency domain. Okay, so there we will make use of these properties. Okay, so then it will be more clearer. So is it okay? So why to transform image from spatial domain to the frequency domain? Anyone? We have seen multiple advantages. First advantage is during convolution operation. In convolution what happens? There will be lots of sum of products, right? Okay, so we convolve the marks over every pixel, right? But in frequency domain it becomes the element by element multiplication, right? So we save calculations. That is first advantage. Second advantage is what? Let me add one blank. Now second advantage is, so if this is our original image and if we transform using FT, okay, now we know that a constant background in the image represents a low frequency component and if we have noise or sharp edges, that represents high frequency. Why that represents high frequency? So if one edge is there, okay, there will be a sudden change in the intensity level, okay, from 0 to maybe 255, right? So that represents high frequency component, okay. And if we transform the image using Fourier transform, what happens? You get a low frequency components separated from high frequency component. Now high frequency means what? Noise, right? So if I want to eliminate the noise, I will just filter out this high frequency component, okay, and then I will take a inverse FT of that, okay, and I will get a process image. So I will get a smoothing effect, okay. So this is the advantage of means using this Fourier transform, okay. Some things which was not accessible in the spatial domain becomes accessible in the frequency domain, okay. Then we have seen the advantage of separability property, okay. So it makes calculation simpler, right? Okay, so now mark your attendance. Okay, so we have seen separable sequence. So let me give one example of separable sequence. In one of the example that we have discussed in the earlier class, we have seen unit impulse sequence, okay. So where we have, okay, so along means for most of the places we have zeros and we have only one at one places. It is just like a one hot encoding, okay. So this is known as unit impulse sequence. This is the 1D unit impulse sequence, and we may have a 2D impulse sequence also, like this, okay. So this is our x of mn. Now this property says that if it can be represented as product of the function of m alone and a function of n alone, okay. So now how this sequence is separable? So if I consider only first component, okay, so it will be like this, okay. So it will be 1 along that particular row, okay, multiply by then second component, so it will be 1 along that corresponding column, and if we multiply element by element, we will get the original signal, okay. So this unit impulse 2D unit impulse function is separable sequence. That is one of the example that I wanted to discuss, okay. So now we'll stop.